Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to talk about how to move forward with your 2D experimentations that we did. I went over all of these last time and I have finalized 9 looks for each of the mood boards from the previous videos. So these are the 9 that I'm going to be working with. And for this section of your process development book, you're going to need either a hand-drawn 2D flat figure that you would use for technical sketching, and you will need these and something like a regular piece of paper. It's better for me to use computer paper, regular plain like printer paper, because the sketchbook is a little bit thicker and you can't see through it. If you have a tracing table or a light pad, you can do that with this as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the difference between your flat sketch template and your croquis is that this is for explaining the sort of mood or the creative side of the garmentry. It is not used primarily to give information technically. You can use either one for this realistically. I just find that using the flat figure is a much more sort of easier approach because it keeps it very simple. And I will explain how that looks in just a minute. So when you're trying to come up with a way to translate this information into an actual garment, you have to keep in mind what it is that the garment is representing in its most basic sort of creative form. So when you're looking at something, for instance, this shape, where it was placed, you could decide at this point if you wanted it to be a jacket or if you wanted it to be, a top, or if you wanted it to be, I don't know, because it's got this sort of longer piece here, you could even make this into a onesie thing. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities. This could be a dress, this could be a second layer that comes off, and that's up to you to start coming up with the concept as you're working. There's no right or wrong way to make this decision, so it's really up to you. So what I've done already is I went ahead and did an example of the pieces that are represented for me in this image here. And so for this piece here, it is literally just the key cut in half and placed on top of the body. But for me, what it represented was a jacket. And so we're thinking about fall, I wanted sleeves. And so I'm trying to keep the integrity of what sort of characteristics are in this image. I'm not trying to come up with things I've already seen. I'm not representing things that aren't here. I'm simply just filtering the information to make it a little bit more practical. And the same can be said for the top over here. And so you can see it's a little bit transparent because the original scanned image was done on tracing paper. There are layers. And so I'm transferring that vibe in with like this. And so this is not your final collection. These are simply just your pieces that you come up with without even realizing that you did so. So once you get all of them done for each of the pages, you will then be able to start like sort of bringing it down to a select few and playing with the way that they work together based on your fabrics, based on how many you're going to have in your collection. So I also went ahead and did this skirt, and I did the dress, which I identified as being under the jacket. I made this into a top, and then I put this piece here into the skirt, and that's just what I wanted to do. Now remember, you could potentially make about 100, if not more, different variations of these exact garments over and over and over just by referencing this one page. But right now, we're just trying to get an idea of what the sort of product line will look like just by using what we've created. It's a lot easier to just make one page and move forward. So to follow that rule, we're going to continue, and I'm going to move on to the next page, which was this one, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how this process works. So I'm taking my flat sketch template here and I'm laying it on top, and even if you can't see, I can see. Now, one thing to note here is that this template does have a back and a front, and you don't have to start thinking about backs right now because you don't even know what sort of shapes you're gonna keep or what things you're gonna dispose of. So right now, we're just focusing on what it looks like two-dimensionally from the front. That's all we're doing. We're not gonna get into detail about what it looks like from the back. So normally you'd use a pencil and then you could, you know, go over the sections that you like with pen or however you want to emphasize the shape that you're interested in keeping later. But for now, we're going to use the pen because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. So to begin, I'm going to start with this one over here on the left, and it is this sort of, I don't even know what this might be. I just placed these two outer layers. I like to work one item at a time, and then from outside of the body to the most closest at the inside. If there's an undergarment represented, if there's anything like that, I like to work in that way. So in this one, for example, we're gonna start with this cloak-like thing. You can see where the two pieces of paper meet here. So that's a good starting point to identify a placement for maybe like a clasp of some sort. And then you want to keep in mind your proportion. So I have it here on the croquis a little bit below the knee. So the knee is down here. And so to keep that, we are going to define a neckline because there isn't one on the paper. And we're going to basically just make it one big shawl that comes off the shoulder. And we're gonna just follow it down to past the knee like this. And we're gonna keep that same shape here, and we'll make this the clasp. And it's gonna go all the way in past the waist and then come out and then go down into that. And so that's our basic shape for this one on the other side. And then here, it's gonna connect up here. So we're keeping in mind the construction of the garment, and we're gonna draw it across the shoulder just like it did before. And this time it's only gonna go to the knee. So now we're like about at the knee. So it's a little bit different here. And then the shape here is going to go out and around and be more sharp. And you can see this actually came from the representation of texture page that I did. It's not necessarily even, you know, something that came from a direct research image. It's something I created entirely. So because you have this, you have to think about what this looks like on the inside, so that you want to keep in mind, here's the back. You don't see it here because it's not represented, so it's up to you to decide what that looks like. So if you were to draw a line, you would actually draw it around the inside, and then it would come to here because it would wrap around and be like that. So that's the inside of your cloak. So underneath this, we have a bodice that is literally the same one as we've already done. So remember, we're gonna try to create new things. So because I can't see that shoulder shape or that cutout, I might just make this a different shape entirely, and you just use your imagination for what that might look like. So going underneath this one, I'm just gonna keep it, I'm gonna try to create as many pieces as closely as I can, and there's no rhyme or reason how you lay this out. It's just to get it information on the page. So for this one, I'm gonna actually make this a dress, and I'm going to just do a basic bodice since it's very tight to the body, and it has a little bit of a like upwards shape at the top instead of a normal kind of boat neck. So we're gonna just mimic that right there and bring it down here. And you won't see the back because there's a neckline, and then we're just going to do a cutout that looks very similar to the one there. And it looks like it has this piece like the other one did, and I kind of like that because it separates this to here. I'm gonna leave out all the other information because we've already done that, and I'm gonna start putting in a whole bunch of seams to represent these lines that are down there. And once I've got that done, we are then going to draw a seam at the waist, and we're going to make this into a skirt. And I'm just gonna draw a basic to the knee, and I'm gonna come down and do some serrated hemline here. All right, everybody, so I went ahead and completed that process. I got all of the 27 2D experiments here translated into apparel items. And so let's go over those items really quickly. So as you saw, I went over this page already. We got a cloak here, a dress, a jumpsuit, a more geometric dress, another couple of dresses, another little shawl. We got some skirts and tops. And so as you can see, I've got a lot of variety going on. And what you might start to notice as you're looking at these is that they don't necessarily even go together. Some of them are just kind of out there. Some of them look costumey. Some of them don't make any sense whatsoever. And so as you're going through your images and you're turning them into apparel items, think less about making it wearable right now and more about just getting the idea that you created down on paper, because in the future we'll actually talk about how to take the item that you drew based on your 2D experiment and how to start making it more ready to wear or whatever it is that your market is. So next time we will talk about basically how to take these, edit them down, make notations, transfer them over, more specifically the ones you like, to color and detail, and then start experimenting with merchandising and how each one relates to another and how many pieces of you need to have in a collection and things of that nature. So with that being said, that's all I have for you this time. And if you enjoy watching the process development series, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you guys in the very near future. Bye.